What's up, fam? Welcome to Minicast Monday, the short form podcast that brings inspiring and empowering information, messages, and sound bites from previous episodes to provide that spark or that fire for you to attack your life, to finally attack it, those fears, those insecurities, and those flaws, so that you can live the best life possible as the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about finding the beauty in the brokenness, or finding those moments or reasons to be grateful or hopeful even when you're faced with heart-wrenching, life-changing grief. Now, we're going to listen back to a few clips from episode 11 with the shining yellow light that is Rachael Callander, and this is probably one of the stories that's impacted me the most. And she really is just a huge inspiration, and she is the embodiment of her quote, finding that beauty in the brokenness.
And then Evie was born and everything was fine for a few hours, and then we tried to feed her and she choked and was rushed up to the NICU ward, and I didn't hear about her until the next day, and the paediatrician said, we've done some tests on Evie and there's some serious concerns. We think she has Edwards syndrome, which is a very rare syndrome that usually has a lifespan of like half a year. So we just kind of welcome this beautiful little life into our lives, and then to be told that we need to prepare to say goodbye. And I remember when the doctors said this, it was almost like I had this knowing. It's like, of course this is what's happening. I think all of this time, like with my granddad and the art and the process and the grief and the meaning and the suffering, I'm like, I think I've been prepared for this for a really long time. And then the doctors did more tests and they said, actually she doesn't have this Edwards syndrome, she has something completely different, which is even rarer, and we have no idea about it. Like, we can't even tell you what's going to happen. You just have to take it a day at a time. And I actually loved that. So all of a sudden, within this extreme pain and potential loss of Evie, there was a sense of freedom again. Okay. It's like no one knew, no one had a rule book. I thrived on this unknown, because I was like, well, this means that we can do life however we want. Like, there is no structure. She might not ever go to school. She might not ever talk, and this is what the doctor said. She probably wouldn't walk. She won't talk. She might not eat food. She might not last 2 weeks. Who knows? But just every single day you've got with her, just enjoy every single day. It was just a constant appreciation of every moment we had with her. But within that, there were so many times when I did have to call the ambulance, and we nearly lost her. I don't know, I lost count. Like, I was calling the ambulance maybe once a week for months on end. Every morning I'd wake up and go, is she still alive? Is she alive? And I'd rush into her room. Like, is she okay? Is she alive? And just that every day, all that fear, like, oh my gosh, this could be it. Is this it? I don't know. Like, what's happening? Having to live literally in the moment, like every moment, because I just never knew what was going to happen next. But in that space, like, I stepped up in ways I never imagined I could cope with. I became someone that I never knew I was capable of, and so she created in me a mum that I was really proud of. Like, she elevated me as a person. And then we ended up shifting to Timaru when she was about 1.5, and that's when she really thrived. She was growing, and she kind of was developing, and she could do things for herself. Like, she learned how to feed herself from a bottle. Like, she didn't eat food, but she drank the special vanilla formula, which made her breath smell great all the time. It was awesome. And we discovered ways that we could interact with her. So Evie and I made up a lot of games together, and I learned how to communicate with her, and there were no words. Like, she never learned how to talk. My relationship with my husband wasn't doing so great at the same time. We were pouring everything into Evie, and so our own connection was diminished, and Camille had an affair at the same time. I had a lot of guilt actually after she died, that it was my fault, that I wasn't strong enough to hold on to my marriage and to Evie, and that somehow that she knew that it was too hard for us, and so she let go as a way of saving Sam and I, my husband. So when she did pass away, my husband and I were in a really bad place. We'd taken Evie to my mum's house. My mum and Evie were really good friends, and she lived in Christchurch, and I'd gone down to Dunedin to celebrate a birthday party for my friend, and Sam had stayed at home in Timor, so we were all very separate, the three of us. And then the next morning after the party, I remember Sam called me and I said, "How are you?" And he said, I'm bad. I said, "What's happened?" And he said, "Evie's dead." And it was just like this nightmare kind of, this was the space, like we were so separate from each other in like a really weak place. So I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know how I couldn't breathe. I couldn't find any anchor. And I remember thinking about life, and it felt like I was in this constant state of being enveloped by this black fog, like I couldn't feel anything but pain. And that took a long time to ease. So Evie died on a Sunday, her funeral was a Wednesday, and then I photographed a wedding on the Saturday after she died. And I don't really actually know how I did that. Like, I think we're talking about this, almost you detach yourself from yourself. So I had a lot of kind of feeling outside of my body a lot of those months, but I photographed this wedding, and I photographed this couple, and I really loved these people. And so I went and I served them on their wedding day by capturing love. And it was like, and me capturing love and seeing love gave me a purpose for that moment, and something to do, something to create, and something to bring me out of myself and focus on something else. And so I photographed this couple, and their wedding was so full of love, like more than any others that I'd been part of. And it was so real that you could almost like pull it out of the air. So I just remember breathing in a lot of deep breaths. Like, the collective love in that group of people on that day really nourished me. And so in that space, I created art to celebrate their love. I created this one image, and it's of them riding this rusty bike in a field of yellow canola flowers. So it's just like yellow flowers everywhere, and they're both on the bike, and he's in the front and she's sitting on the back, and she's got her arms in the air, and they're like leaning into the future. And it's like this vision of going into the future without any idea of what's going to happen, just with blissful hope and optimism. And I captured this for them, knowing, like, from my point of view, that making promises is really hard when you don't know what's about to happen. Life can be so shit, and that they're blindly going into something that potentially could destroy them in the future. But at the same time, I was so happy for them and optimistic. I was like, I just hope they make it. I hope they don't have to go through anything like I've gone through, because I want what they've got for myself right now, because my marriage is a mess at the moment, and I've just lost my baby, and here they are at the very beginning of this love story, and I just wanted to be where they are, and I wanted to capture that for them. So if they ever had to go through something like me, that maybe they'd look at this image and go, we had something once, let's try and get back to that moment, like to fight for our love. So I almost made this image for them, for their future selves, if they're ever going through hard times. I actually surprised myself by what I could do in that space. And this image that I just described, I entered it in the New Zealand Professional Photography Awards, and that image won a gold award, and I was named Wedding Photographer of the Year.
Wow, that's amazing.
So from this place of utter despair, I found the beauty in the brokenness. Exactly, and the brokenness was me.
Now, I hope you like those clips. I hope you like those stories. If you want to listen to the full episode, then go back to that one. That is episode 11 with Rachael Callander, who is, of course, a TEDx speaker. Now, what I hope you take away from this story is that no matter what odds you're faced with, no matter how difficult and no matter how much it hurts, there will always be something to be grateful for, and there will always be beauty in the brokenness. Now, Rachael shows this when she's constantly fearing losing Evie, having to call the ambulance every week, not knowing how long she's actually going to have left with Evie, and then waking up every morning gasping for air, wondering if she's still alive. Now, if you do have a kid, then you know just as well as I do how heart-wrenching that feeling must be. You know, when my daughter's asleep and she coughs, I'll wake up in a panic because I'm so worried. Imagine waking up every day literally not knowing if your child's going to be alive. Now in Rachel's situation, she chooses to focus on making the most of their time together rather than actually losing her, which is powerful because it turns Evie's life from one that's a cause of stress and worry into one that's a thing of beauty, something to behold and something to really cherish. With her relationship, she chooses to turn the brokenness into something that makes her stronger. And even after having lost Evie, she focuses on capturing love at weddings rather than dwelling on those suicidal thoughts that she spoke about, or being upset because she was witnessing such high vibration emotion, such love and such joy, something that had dissipated from her own relationship. Now this approach that Rachael has to life, finding that beauty, eventually led Rachael to take the photo that would win her a national award, as well as to author the book that would launch her career as a professional speaker who now inspires and educates people all over the damn world. Now, if she had not have found that beauty, if she had chosen instead to focus and dwell on the negative, on the resistance, on the challenges, on the tests that had come up throughout her life, she never would have led herself to that moment out in that field with that couple on their wedding day, capturing this beautiful image that represented the pinnacle of love in a relationship, so that that couple, if they ever had to go through anything similar to what Rachael and her husband at the time were going through, then they could refer back to that picture and know that love was there. They just had to work at it again to find it. And now if she had not have found that beauty in the moments with Evie, she would likely have looked back on her time with Evie and resented it for how stressful and hard and difficult that time of her life was. Not just looking after Evie, but the stress she had to go through internally and the breakdown of her relationship. But instead she finds that beauty, finds everything about Evie that was uniquely beautiful. And taking that beauty, she authors this book photographing different children with ailments or disabilities like Evie had. And this book, like I said, would eventually propel her on to platforms such as TEDx and over to America on the Good Morning shows. Who would ever have thought that finding beauty in periods of life that was difficult as that would propel her on to a professional speaking career? So before I sign off, I want to ask you, what shit, what struggle, what trauma have you been through or are you currently going through right now? And what is the beauty in it? The answer may not come to you straight away, and that's okay. But if you keep asking, you will eventually find it. And what will come with finding it will be the lesson that you've taken away from it, if it's something from the past, or your reason to persevere through it if it's something you're going through right now. So again, I hope you have a nugget of gold to take away from this story, from this Minicast Monday episode, and really implement that into your life. Ask yourself that question: what is the beauty in this difficult moment, in this brokenness? But I hope that all of you out there are smiling or contemplating, and I hope that you have the best day and the best week, and I will see you again next Monday. But for now, I'm going to leave you with a quote by Andy Warhol, and that is, everything has its beauty, but not everyone sees it. What is it about you? What is it about your life? What is it about what you're going through that is beautiful? And how are you going to allow yourself to see it? Ciao.